Hello and welcome to another episode of the Casual Hour, a podcast ostensibly about games, but mostly about diving deep. This week,
Hot.
we are deep diving into Hard Drive / The Hard Times / Mr. Matt Saincome. Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thanks for stopping by.
I'm also joined, of course, by Mr. Chase Kinnicky. Hi, Chase.
Hello, Chase.
And Bobby Pease.
What's up?
Hello, Bobby. And I'm Johnny. I didn't mention that. I'm Johnny, and tonight we're going to be talking about the games that we've been playing, and then we're going to do a little Q&A with Mr. Saincome here. Dive into his seedy past and make him reveal all of his deepest, darkest secrets live on Twitch.
A fast friend of the Casual Hour. We love it.
Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, what you've been playing is something that we've been talking about for a while here on it. And Johnny, we typically will let you kick this off, but it would be a big miss to not let Matt start us off on a game that he's been checking out.
All right, yeah. So a game that I've been playing quite a bit of, and I would recommend to almost anyone, it's called Alienation, and it is on PS4. It's probably on other consoles as well, but that's the one that I'm playing it on.
Alienation?
And, yeah.
Look it up.
I'm fairly certain that's the name. And I believe it came out in 2016 around. But it holds up, and here's what it's like. It's basically like top-down Helldivers-ish.
Like Helldivers 1-ish.
Yeah, Helldivers 1
shooter?
like PvE. But here's the interesting part, and I want people to know this. My girlfriend is a gamer.
Okay.
And her brother's a gamer, and my brother's a gamer, and they come over to our house. And we're always looking for games to play on PS4 when we're all in the same room together. So what do? Super Monkey Ball,
Classic.
Jackbox Party, now Stardew will let you do that. There's a couple like classic options. Twisted Towers is okay, but this one is not marked as co-op or couch co-op. Also, PS4 store, there's no way to search for couch co-op. As far as I can tell.
On
a tag?
It's just a fucking mess right now.
There is not really a tag. Couch co-op is not really a tag, as far as I can tell.
That's a
You can type in co-op, but sometimes it doesn't show that. Sometimes it only shows it if it's in the description, but not a tag. Anyways,
yeah, they'll be like, this one, do you want to play Destiny? It's like, that's not the co-op I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, and so this will actually show up as a one-person game, but after it came out, they put out a patch that allows other people, up to 3 other people, so 4 people total, to just turn on their controller and press the options button, and they load right in. Now it's like they didn't really build much interface for the co-op thing. It's like literally like the person just like drops into the game. But it's incredibly fun. You're kind of like scouting for better weapons. Weapons drop, and then there's like this interesting game mechanic where you can like essentially scrap lower weapons and get pieces and upgrade weapons. And there's also a little bit of like a chance thing, kind of like in Diablo 2 when you go roll the dice to get a better weapon or whatever, or like to enchant a weapon. There's something like that in this game as well, and that creates a lot of fun. There is so we play a lot of this game, and one of the things I think is really funny about it is while I'm playing it, it advertises these like weekly leagues, and I don't know very much about this, but we always joke that we're actually going to start a team and be a part of these weekly leagues. But I think it's pretty interesting. Like 2016, this game still seems to have some sort of community around it.
That active still, huh?
Not just 2016. April of 2016. We're in the month.
Yeah. So a great game. I don't remember how much I paid for it. I don't feel like it was very much. I would highly recommend it. Great couch co-op game for PS4.
Yeah, it is also included in PlayStation Plus.
That's true.
Oh, nice.
Hey, there you go.
PlayStation Plus Extra. So not you got
whichever category that is.
You got to throw them. I think it's one of the middle ones that doesn't matter, that nobody cares about. But it's $20 if somebody wanted to go grab that.
I think it's also like worth noting that these types of games seemingly could just take off out of nowhere. Like we were talking off pod about Helldivers 2, and we got to play that the other night. That was a game that I know I heard of when it came out around the same time as this one, but to see it just having like this glow up and reception that it's had, there's always a story and probably like ripe for the picking right now. I bet devs are chasing opportunities. Like, can we take an older IP that there is still some interest in and just blow it out of proportion? Like I would love to see something like that. It was really cool.
It's wild that this genre kind of just disappeared. I think back to like the Super Nintendo days, and basically every game was like this. Like you had like your Smash TVs and your Contra kind of shit, and like it's just it's get as many people as you can, play some games, shoot some shit, and die, and then arcade mode, and you go back.
I mean, I grew up with 2 brothers and then like a bunch of neighborhood kids, and almost all of my gaming was couch co-op.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
So I understand that, like, because the games have become better graphics, like the frame rates, like they can't handle it. I understand like why a lot of the games don't have as much couch co-op and split screen. So I'm always looking for that.
Yeah.
I feel like Alienation,
Castle Crashers or something was the last one where everybody was super excited.
Love that game.
Sweet couch co-op game.
And
it's just quite good. It's just become less of a thing these days.
I would imagine a couch co-op playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 would be pretty special. I bet that would be awesome. Very cool. Alienation, been out for a while. You can check that out right now if you're a subscriber to PlayStation Plus Extra. That's what the one, right? I can't keep up with that fucking tiered system.
One of the middle tiers.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Johnny, what the hell have you been doing with Inkbound?
I played a good amount of Inkbound last night with a couple of guys from Hard Drive, actually. Thomas Wild is going to be writing a piece about it. And this
is the Monster Train devs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is Shiny Shoe.
Very cool.
They made a turn-based tactics roguelite.
You have a deck too, right?
PvE.
Isn't your moveset in card form in this, or am I getting that confused?
Kind of. It's almost like turn-based Hades. Is how I would describe it.
Yep.
So you have your hub area where you are getting upgrades. You're switching out your class because it is class-based. I tried using the magic user, which I didn't pay any attention. Like it gives you like a difficulty scale out of 5 of like how hard it is to use that class, and it was a 4. And it definitely worked out that way because I died every single time we tried to face a boss, and
it's hard. It's got a like ceiling on it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. If you're not, the interesting thing is you and your teammates are moving independently from one another, so you're all taking your turn at the same time. But whoever hits the enemy last is who it will target. And so if you have your tanky boy there with you, it would behoove you to have them wait until everyone else uses their attacks before they use theirs. Because we're finding, like, we were kind of figuring it out together as we played last night, because the guy that is doing the piece about it has just been playing solo for the most part.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, when you clear an area, you are given an upgrade to one of your existing moves, or a modification to it, or getting a new move, or getting a passive ability, to where you might get 10% more of the currency that you use to spend at the shop whenever between levels. There are different potions that you can pick up that will give you different buffs. It's not just going to heal your HP. Some of them restore some of your movement. So if you find yourself in a spot where there's a bunch of AoE attacks that you're going to be stuck in and you're out of movement, you can drink that potion and then maybe get out of the line of danger. And we managed to clear the first boss last night, but we died at the same time.
Oh,
so
no.
The run ended, but then we all got the achievement for beating the boss.
Nice.
And even when you die, you're still like Hades. You're not coming out of it with nothing.
Does this do like the Monster Hunter thing, where the more people you bring in, the harder they make the content?
Yes, because Thomas, the guy that asked us to play with him, said that when he was fighting the boss by himself, it had like 7,000 health, and with the three of us, it had 28,000.
Oh, Jesus.
So
did you notice on the online front really quick? Like, I'm pretty sure, because I did early access on this game when it dropped, there was a lot of frustration in the community due to some of the trappings of like online shopping and just all that shit. Like, is that pretty much gone from here? Because I thought I saw that Shiny Shoe walked a lot of that back. I might be misremembering it.
What do you mean, like microtransactions and stuff?
Yeah. Was there anything that you could see?
I haven't seen anything like that. I also wasn't actively seeking it out. It is so you own it. So I could definitely see this, right? You still have the game?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I think this could be a fun Friday night game.
Yeah.
Get a couple other people to play with us.
Hell yeah. I mean, it just hit 1.0, right? It looks like on April 9th.
Yeah.
$30 if you don't have it already. There's a bunch of DLC for it also, but Shiny Shoe stands by their shit, that's for sure. They make a lot of great updates and meaningful moves with the stuff that they put out.
Yeah, Monster Train is a casual hour favorite for sure.
Big time.
Yeah. But yeah, the Magma Miner, I think, is the name of the class, that did a lot of burn damage, and you're inflicting stacks of damage. So you can get, I think at one point I had like 70 stacks of burn on this boss, and your moves are very symbiotic with one another. So you inflict something with one attack, then that impacts what another attack does, or like with the Strand one, it was interesting because you were throwing these threads out.
That's what I played as. It was wild. Yeah,
and I maybe shouldn't have tried to pick that, like my first time really digging into the game. But the Hammer Boy was a lot easier to
always a good time.
Yeah, I played it for a couple hours now, and it's pretty good. I don't know.
Awesome.
I would be I'm more interested in hearing what you and Chase think, because you played much more Monster Train than I did.
Yeah, I think it's very different. I need to check it out in 1.0, but I liked what I saw with it. I just felt like I needed to have a friend with me.
I think we did did we do a Casual Monday or like a...
We did a Next Fest stream for it when we did the demos. Yeah, it was really cool.
I'd be down to play some more of that.
Yeah.
On or off stream.
Inkbound, out officially in 1.0 as of April 9th. Also, around the same time, April 10th, a game that I've been keeping an eye on hit 1.0, and that's called The Planet Crafter. Miju Games put this one out. It'll set you back a whole $23.99 on Steam. You can play it on GeForce Now also if you have that service. There's a demo that you can check out. You're not going to like this, Johnny or Chase. Matt, we don't know each other very well yet, but I have a sickness, which is survival crafting games. And I found another new obsession.
It's debilitating.
It's bad. It's very bad.
I play a lot of them too. So
Great. This is for you and you only, Matt. Planet Crafter is really neat. It is a lot like Subnautica, but if you mix in a game that came out called Terra Nil, where it's kind of an anti-city builder where you're restoring a habitat.
Yeah, I played Terra Nil.
Okay, so imagine that you land on Mars and you are bringing Mars back to a green, lush state. And you do that by increasing oxygen levels, heat levels, and you do that by building out your skill trees, finding new gear, coming back to your base, building out hubs and communication arrays.
What was the name of the game?
The Planet Crafter. They just added in.
I played a different Mars city builder. Sorry.
Oh, is that one rebuilding or restoring Mars or something like that?
I'll have to look on my library, but I played one that was like that. But sorry.
Cool.
Go ahead.
No. This one seems awesome. I know they added multiplayer right when it hit 1.0, and I think it would be a ton of fun. Gives me kind of some Satisfactory vibes, Johnny, as far as the layout. Mm-hmm. I will say when I first opened it up.
It's not dangerous for you at all.
Not dangerous. I was a little taken aback because I thought it looked kind of shitty, like graphically speaking. And the more I started to play the game, I'm like, I don't know if I'm just getting used to it because it's very red when you first land. It's Mars. And I was like, maybe my eyes are just getting adjusted to it. But as I was building out my base and getting these resources and manufacturing stuff, I'm like, wow, it's starting to really look a little bit better. And I didn't realize, but I was restoring the sky. So like it went into a blue sky, and it was such a gradual tick that when it hit, I was like, oh shit, there's a blue sky now. So I actually had like a day-night cycle. There's starting to be like a chance to grow some grass. And it's just awesome to see the planet coming to life, and there's more creatures that start to come. And so far, it's got its hooks in me. And what can I say? I'm a slut for surviving. And
is it just Mars, or like do you finish Mars and you go to another planet?
That was going to be my question.
So I think if this does well, maybe you'll go somewhere else, but it seems to be just Mars right now. I think it's a relatively small team.
A singular goal.
Yep.
And once you get there, I guess you could play it again.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Okay. But
if only there were millions and millions of procedurally generated planets that are all essentially the same but a little different. If only.
It just works.
Starfield does.
It just works.
Make that
God.
They've got billions of planets with nothing on them already. It's perfect.
Spore was the first time I fell for that trick.
God, man,
yeah,
Spore.
man, we all been burned by Spore.
I had so much fun with the creature creator in that.
Yeah,
incredible, right?
I never played Spore, and I'm glad that I did.
Then you haven't lived.
They put the creature creator out like 3
played
months
a lot of The
before
Sims.
game, and I'm going, I'm making these crazy awesome creatures, and everything looks great. And then the game comes out, and I go, there's kind of, I don't want to do any of this.
Sorry to cut you guys off, but you guys play Sid Meier's Pirates?
No, never did.
Never played Pirates.
I'm going to tell you straight up, I think it's the greatest video game I ever played.
Okay.
Just check it out. Just check it out.
Okay.
It was so much fucking fun.
Damn. Does it follow the same formula?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my uncle the other day who is obsessed with that game.
So what it's like is you have a pirate ship, and you're like in the Caribbean. It's kind of like top down, and you can attack other pirate ships, and then there's like a series of mini games to see who wins. Like a sword fighting one and like a ship fighting one. But the cool part is like there's a lot of economic stuff and trading, and actually like if you beat a different ship, you get to like take that pirate ship. It's just like a really fun, rewarding game. It's just like I have just like extremely fond memories of playing this game. But whenever I think of any sort of Sid Meier game, I think of Sid Meier's Pirates.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Planet Crafter out now. I think this game's really cool. It's just been a great podcast game for me. Catch up on some shit, restore Planet, love it. So that is out $24 on PC. Chase, what do you got going on?
I can get through mine pretty quick because I don't think it's very good.
I
played Metal Max Xeno Reborn. Matt, you don't know this, but I also have a sickness that is distinctly different than Bobby's.
It's Johnny.
Well, my sickness is that at one point I decided I am not finishing enough of the games that are on my backlog. I need to do something to finish these games. And instead of being a normal person who would just play a game, I decided to make a giant wheel with all the games on it that I have yet to play that I want to. It was like 100 games
It's
long,
disgusting.
and I would spin it every month.
wheel.
I
It's
spun
filthy.
it every month for a year. We did it live on the show every month, and I would have to give that game the old college try. If I could beat it, great, and then I would also have to write a little something about it. And so I did that for 12 straight months, and it was great. And then 2024 happened, and I think I did it once, and then it kind of fell off. But the last game that I spun and didn't get around to for 2 months because I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was its own kind of hell, was Metal Max Xena Reborn. And so I decided, all right, I've got a little time. I am off the Final Fantasy train. Let's get to this. And I don't think it's very good. It's a JRPG. And
Naturally,
Metal Max goes
for you?
back into like the early 90s. Like the original one was on the Famicom. And then it got like a Super Famicom one. And they've made a handful of these games. This game specifically is a remake of a Vita game that came out in 2018.
Okay, I was going to ask because I see it's a whole series.
Yes, absolutely, a very long running series. Metal Max is basically just Mad Max. It's almost like they just they just off the.
I'm picking up on that now.
Yeah, it absolutely is that. It's just like, oh, what if there's a desert planet and there's some alien dudes around? You got to shoot them. But the thing you get here is a tank. And that's the whole thing is like you get this tank, you get to customize the tank and put on the different kind of guns that you want. Do you want machine guns? Do you want big cannons? Do you want things that spark or freeze or do stuff like that? And then when you get into combat, you will have this kind of turn-based combat where you'll freeze and you'll choose the attack that you want, and then that goes, and then it's kind of like a soft active time battle system for like those old Final Fantasies. It's just kind of rigid. It's you drive around the tank. The tank feels weird. I mean, it definitely feels like a tank, but it also is just not very fun to drive around the desert with.
Isn't there another anime JRPG tank game coming out in like a day or two?
Yes, I basically played Sandland.
Okay.
Except it doesn't have the cool Akira Toriyama art in it. It's
you chose
anime.
poorly.
It's just bad anime. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? You could probably play that and just tell people you played this one.
I could.
And that cancels out your list. Tomato at that point in time.
I mean, hey, I gave this one the old college try. Basically, the other cool thing here is that you can get party members and they get their own tanks. So then you are getting to build up multiple tanks and switch through party members and have, this one's specifically good against flying enemies. This one's really good against sand sharks or whatever. I fought a sand shark.
Sure.
It killed me a couple times. It was
naturally.
It was a big sand shark.
It has a name. Say it. Liaise.
It wasn't all that fun, and the thing that really pissed me off is that there's a part in the game very early on where it just wants you to zoom past an enemy. There's a bridge, and there's a big flying enemy, and they don't tell you that you should just drive right on through, but they go, oh, this enemy's maybe a little too hard for you. It's like, oh, okay, so you're just telling me to like grind around this starting area until I get the right weapons.
You misinterpreted what they were trying to tell you, Chase.
Absolutely. So I died to it like 5 straight times. I'm like, I have no idea how to fucking this is the only place to go. This is the only thing I need to defeat. What do you want me to do? This is the next thing on the mission list. This is the thing you want me to do. And then like, I don't know, maybe it's a little tough for you. And then finally I just like, well, can I just drive through it? And after that I was like, oh, well, great. I'm glad I spent 3 hours fighting this thing.
3 hours?
Yes. Because I was driving around, because I'd fight this thing, I die.
At a certain point, that just becomes your fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, agreed.
Fair enough.
It's on you.
So even though I got past that part and have now gone on to the wider game, I just don't like playing it very much. And I think I'm at a good point where I can drop this. I can go back and continue playing more Unicorn Overlord. We spun our other wheel Matt, we made a second wheel because
Did I make a mistake showing up without a wheel?
Handheld video
You need a
games.
wheel to be here.
Was I supposed to make a wheel to be here?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I'm sorry, I
it
forgot to
doesn't
mention
hurt. It doesn't hurt. People, we should ask guests to bring their own wheels next time. But then that wheel landed on Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising, which is, I know, a much better game that also has tanks in it. So
Did you say Advanced Wars?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to play a lot of that.
It's excellent, and so Bobby and Johnny are maybe going to play that on their analog pockets and play the original GBA version. I'm gonna try to play the reboot camp version that came out on the Switch last year, 2 years ago, and just kind of knock that out because I love Advance Wars, but I have never finished the second one. So glad that hit that wheel. So.
I played so much of that game. I'm trying to remember which one of it was. But yeah, that's a really fun game.
Yeah, it's
well,
awesome.
if it was
Kind of
the
reminds
first
me
one,
of kind of reminds me a little bit of.
It was right around when 9/11 happened.
Yeah,
because that's why they didn't put it out in Japan.
That's where I was when the towers went down.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, same.
I was in 6th grade. I was thinking about Advance Wars, and then my teacher's like, "Hey, we got to show on the TV, and I think this is really important for you guys to watch." We're like, "Whoa!"
Well,
that's nice little grade school
some
trauma.
Lifelong trauma.
Yeah. Drink it up. Chocolate milk's around the corner. All right. Well, we talked about some fun games tonight. Thanks for breaking those down, but we should probably move on to the main event, which is you, Matt. We are thrilled to have you join us and talk a little bit about where you've been and what you've been up to and how you've gotten to know Johnny on our show and what brought you to this wonderful podcast tonight. So
I think that really is where we should start.
Yeah.
Is,
why Johnny?
Hired Johnny? Why?
I'm a freelancer.
We've been trying to get him off this podcast forever.
Yeah.
You invited him into. I don't get it.
You want to know the real answer?
Yes.
Why?
We've been asking it for months now.
Here's the real answer why. And again, like Johnny clarified, freelancer, which is what most of our stuff is. But the real answer why is because when I was young, I was in the yearbook class, and I was the editor of a section. And then one thing led to another, and I was going to run to be the editor-in-chief of the yearbook. And I was not a notable member of the yearbook staff. And I had never led anything my entire life. Okay. But I applied, and it was a nameless application. And I won. I became the editor-in-chief of the yearbook. And the advisor for that class told me how much she believed in the idea of essentially credentialless, no credentials, dark horse, no name, no nothing type applications.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big part of what we've done at Hard Times and Hard Drive. So the real answer is Johnny got into Hard Drive because he had some funny fucking ideas. And that's how we judge people.
That's
and
awesome.
I think Johnny has a couple big hits, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know,
Yes, thank you.
there would be many people and many other comedy institutions, almost all of them, a lot of them, that have application processes about where did you learn comedy and where else have you written for? And, you know, what about this? Or write an entire article for us and we'll see if you can do it. Ours is
you can pay the Babylon Bee $10.
The Babylon Bee, you got to pay. There's a lot of
Jesus.
application processes out there that I'm not a big fan of. And ours is, do you got a good idea? And I've made a lot of great friends and I've met a lot of really talented and interesting people by running it that open. A lot of other places also, you can only do it once a year. Hey, our applications are open.
Right.
Ours is 24/7.
That's
we also
awesome.
built it. We also built a way where people can apply to be a part of Hard Drive. And I encourage anyone listening to this to go do it. And it actually, your ideas get dropped into a Slack channel that I'm a part of and a couple other people are a part of. And with just one click, you can get invited in. So you have the opportunity to pitch us a good idea. And
That's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
So like to kind of like summarize, it was pity is what I mean. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it was.
I mean,
a
you saw
joke
this
about
man with no talent, no credentials, no nothing, no experience, and you went, yeah, why not?
You know, I honestly like that a little more. You know, credentials in so many parts of my life. fuck credentials, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
They're a counter signal a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
It's a hey, you got to let me write for you. I wrote for blah blah blah. Fuck, dude, that sounds like it sucks.
I mean, that
know?
sounds like most jobs, honestly, where like even the entry level jobs are like, oh, do you have like 5 years experience with this thing? No, it's an entry level job. What?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. What are you doing?
Yeah. I think
I'm a big believer in that.
it's one of those
Well, that's
situations where I feel like the title sometimes is like more obsessed over the work itself and just like what we try to do to get to it. And like it's one of those things where you end up getting into these fucking hive mind situations where it's just you're talking about the work rather than just doing the work. And it's messy. And I think even in like my profession, it's figuring it the fuck out along the way, like building that plane mid-flight. I think all that shit makes a lot of sense. And if you fail, I think that's one of the best teachers if you do it safely. But it's a situation where like you can mentor, learn, and lean in and do it different the next time with grace. I think that shit makes everything so much better. And like to hear you kind of talk about this.
You're damn right. That's how it should be. And one of the best payments that I get for having helped start Hard Times and Hard Drive is to see people evolve and grow and succeed in whatever way that they want to. Because let me tell you, there ain't that much money to be made running a comedy website.
Sure.
So the hours I'm putting in, I got to find a different form of payment. And one of my forms of payment is I got a text message earlier today from a friend of mine. His name is Ryan Long, and he's now a notable stand-up comic with a notable podcast. You can go listen to him on his episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. First time I met Ryan was he sent me an email and he said, hey, I used to play in a punk band. I'm from Canada. I like to make videos. I want to make some videos for the Hard Times. Can we make some funny videos together? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And he goes, I can get the camera. I can figure it all out. I can shoot it. I can edit it. He showed the fuck up. He made some phenomenal videos. If you've ever played in a band, you should watch Ryan's thing on our site. It's called Grumpy Sound Man, or like The Art of Grumpy. That was like our first viral video. And
The Art of Grumpy.
And he's just a great guy who did all this great stuff for us. Eventually he goes his own way, and I saw him recently in a theater of probably 500 or 600 screaming fans.
That's awesome.
And this thing was sold out.
Hell
and
yeah.
Ryan's a fucking celebrity.
That's awesome.
When I met him, he wasn't. And it's like, that is the payment that I get, is I get to see someone separate themselves from the pack, do whatever needs to be done, move to New York, do stand up 6 times a night, make all the right commitments, throw everything to the wayside, and make something of themselves. I saw him start his podcast and his Patreon, and I think I was one of like the first 10 people. There's not 10 people on there anymore. There's a lot of people on there, but I saw him grow it. I saw in the beginning, when you look at it and you're kind of like, oh, this is like, just getting going, like the soundproofing behind him is like a little off or whatever. There's like a little, it's not perfect yet, now go check out his podcast. He's got a beautiful studio. Anyways,
awesome.
I'm really happy for my friend Ryan.
I can't wait for the day that Johnny finally makes something of himself and moves to New York and gets the hell out of here.
We're very much cheering him on, and
I'm really looking forward to that.
It's been super cool seeing all of it happen, for sure. Wild to see it happen, but it's been really cool.
Yeah. Why don't we back out a little bit? We've mentioned the Hard Times and Hard Drive a couple times, but just for listeners who don't know what those things are, Matt, would you like to give us the elevator pitch on what your websites are and why people should read them?
Sure. And they're like a group project website. I think nothing really great is ever built with a single pair of hands. So my name is on a decent amount of stuff, but it's not just me who made the websites. But I was a journalist. I wrote a couple funny stories. One was about a guy who had sex with a dolphin and wrote a book about it. I have the book back here somewhere. It's called Wet Goddess, and he signed it for me. And anyways, this article goes crazy viral. It's all over the internet. A documentary was made about it after someone saw my article. And I remember my bosses coming down I was working at SF Weekly at the time. I think I was still a freelancer or an intern. I'm not sure. And they were like, this is the most traffic we've ever had. You got to do a follow-up, this, that, and that. And I remember thinking to myself, I got paid $15 to do the story. What difference does it make to me? And I also thought I made the whole story. I made the photo. I took the photo of the guy. I was like, how hard could it be to just own the website? Like make my own website. So I did. That's what I did. I thought it was mostly comedy that made my journalism articles pop off. That was kind of my niche. So I decided to make my own comedy website. I was trying to be a freelance writer at the time, and I was going broke really fast. I couldn't get enough gigs, and I had this horrific feeling in the pit of my stomach that I was going to not be able to do writing. And I remember laying on my bed and looking up at my ceiling and thinking, I went to school to be a journalist, and I learned how to write. But what good is it to write if I can't support myself? And I remember thinking that I was going to give up on it. And so I had about, I think, $1,200 in my bank account. And I took all of it and I made a website. And that was kind of my fuck it. I'm gonna give it a go. The caveat to that is, I come from a working class family that wouldn't have let me starve. My parents would have let me move back in, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not $1,200 and then I'm out on the street or anything like that, right?
Hard times indeed.
So I had a safety net, which I think is important for a lot of people trying to do things. It's a kind of a unfair advantage that people have. So anyways, I started the website and we were at the right place in the right time. And Facebook was, social media algorithms were very much in our favor. So we just made a simple WordPress website. We put up a joke and it would reach 1 million people. Probably 10,000 people liked our page, but it would reach 1 million people. What does that mean? It means all of a sudden we had 1 million or 2 million people on our website every month, even though we're only putting up one piece of content a day. Okay. So I'm a kid in my room with my friend Bill. And then very shortly after that, my brother Ed, making punk jokes about I used to play in a band. I used to book shows, go on tours. We're making jokes about our friends and about things that we've gone through in the punk scene. And 1 million people are reading it. And pretty quick, I got an email I was a music editor at SF Weekly. I got a job eventually. So let's say we start this website, like a year goes on. I get a job as a music editor at SF Weekly. And there's enough people on the website that it can pay me more than my salary. So
that's awesome.
I walked down the hall and I said, "Hey, boss, bad news. I quit." So, sorry. To be truthful, I wasn't that sorry though, because I caused a gigantic problem. If you Google my name, SF Weekly, you'll read some articles about the whole big drama that I caused over there. I wrote a mean article about our biggest advertiser.
Oh.
I didn't know they were our biggest advertiser.
Whoops.
Yeah. My editor kept turning it back into me.
Every week.
My editor kept turning it back into me and saying, make it meaner, make it meaner, make it meaner. And I publish it. I come in the next day and the publisher, I can hear him at the end of the hall yelling. The office is legitimately shaking. He calls us into this room. And on the whiteboard, he has $138,000 written. I don't know what, and he goes, "This is how much your stupid fucking article lost us." He's yelling in my face. It was a very intense moment.
Oh, anyways, my God.
I quit that job and we start doing Hard Times. Eventually Bill goes full time and Facebook is so generous to us. I don't take full advantage of it because I'm kind of new to the whole entrepreneur thing. I don't really jump on the opportunity, which I still kick myself a little bit. But we immediately thought, this is really taking off. What else? What other topics should we do? So that was like a couple months into having Hard Times, because Hard Times just popped off right away.
Sure.
We were like, oh, what else should we do? So we had a couple ideas. We did a big call. The first call for Hard Times writers and collaborators said something like, if you're one of my funny friends, I don't care if you're a writer, join this group. It was pretty open door. Okay. And our first ideas were a conspiracy theory website, satire website. That one was run by Jeremy Kapowitz and Mike Amory. I believe I'm getting that team correct. I believe that was the team that one was called Truth Bang. And it was very, very funny to me and seemingly no one else. Okay, so
Was it like coast to coast, kind of like what that is? Okay,
yeah, it was like coast to coast, kind of
But-
like Alex Jones. But
yeah,
what ended up
yeah.
happening was like the keywords were like wild. So I remember one of the articles is like, "This man comes to my door every day. I'm gonna kill him." It was like about the postman or something like that. And we had this character who was like this hermit. I thought it was very funny. We had fake ads on the website that were like for bunkers and stuff.
Oh
It
my
was
god!
I thought it was pretty fun. No one would read it. No one would sponsor it. Facebook didn't like it.
Well,
so we
welcome to
eventually
2020.
I was
here.
going to say, Matt, I think
just about
You
ahead
know,
of your time, apparently.
bring back TruthBang.
Yeah.
So, and then we ended up having to like shut it down because it cost like $500 or something
sure.
to run or whatever. Okay, so TruthBang doesn't work out, but we decide we're not giving up. We're gonna do 2 more shots. And Bill, my co-founder at Hard Times, is a huge MMA fan. I'm a big pro wrestling fan. So we decided we're gonna do a pro wrestling and MMA site, and we wanted to call it Hard Fight, I think, but someone
Okay.
already had that name or something like that. So we called it Gut Check. And we know we really couldn't get that much going on it. Even Joe Rogan read our headline on a podcast one time. We didn't see any lift. Like, I don't know if it's because like we weren't big enough MMA fans, or I don't know what exactly.
Is that where the champ came from?
The champ is from my punk band. I could tell you about that one. Got me in a lot of trouble. That's a character I used to play.
Okay.
So we tried Gut Check. It didn't work out. At the same time, we tried Hard Drive, and the deal was basically Bill was going to run Gut Check, and I was going to create a team to run Hard Drive. That team ended up being Hard Times freelancers, the ones that we thought were best, which was, again, Jeremy Kapowitz, Mike Amory, who at the time was his writing partner, Mark Roebuck, I don't think I'm missing anyone. So it was Jeremy, Mike Amory, Mark Roebuck, and me. And that one popped off.
Oh.
So that was so eventually it was originally born on the Hard Times website. It was just called the video game section. We had a name, Hard Drive, but that you would go to the hardtimes.net/video games, and then you would read your hard drive.
Sure.
Maybe like 2 years into it, we decided to make it its own website. And that helped when we sold Hard Times because we got to keep Hard Drive and it was already separate. So that's how I got into all this stuff.
Yeah, I had no idea that you had kind of experimented with other ones, because that was like one of the things I was going to ask you is like, hey, did this kind of spawn out of just like a passion for music and for video games, or did you see those audiences easy targets for satire?
No, these are just if you're gonna make another name for this thing, it would just be called like mattsinterest.com or something like that, because it's like punk music. I played in a punk band, and then the other thing is like I spent my whole life like StarCraft 2, late nights, order a pizza, all throughout college. I didn't take anything seriously. I just played video. I was like nocturnal, basically. I would like just play till 6 a.m.
Yep.
And so as soon as Hard Times took off, I was like, let's do video games. And then eventually there were Hard Times contributors who were really funny and knew a lot about video games. And we did some Hard Times articles about video games, and those started to pop off. And that was when we were like, fuck it, we're doing this right now.
Yeah.
Particularly, Mark wrote one about Tony Hawk Pro Skater that was like very viral, and we were like, okay, let's do Hard Drive. And then pro wrestling, I grew up on that, and MMA, I'm a big fan of that. So these are like my biggest hobbies. Eventually, later on, way down the road, my other biggest hobby is kind of our interest is like gambling, or risk versus reward. And we did one called Hard Money that was about crypto and stocks and gambling in general. That one found a little bit of an audience, but went away as well.
Much like crypto. You mentioned how much Facebook at the time was like Facebook was different back then, and that's kind of like how you got a foothold and were able to build a platform and get an audience. I don't know if you've noticed, there's this guy named Elon something, and he bought a social site, and he
sounds like a real dickhead to me.
X, the everything app.
That's right. How have you seen? I know, like, one of the things he did was that the whole like when you link an article, the image, it doesn't have the headline on it or whatever. How has something like that affected hard drive and hard times? And what have you done to kind of try to counteract this deeply disturbed man's broken ideas?
I'm going to start by doing something different. I'm going to give him some credit. When we write political articles on any of our websites and we put them on Facebook, they get choked down to 0. So we literally essentially cannot do political satire on Facebook. In fact, oftentimes when we do certain keywords, cop, KKK, hate crime, these are, as part of jokes.
Sure.
We will actually get punished to the point where for the next week or for the next month, we won't get very much reach. We run those same jokes, political jokes, on X. No organic reach reduction. So there are actually jokes that go up. Johnny knows this. There are jokes that go up on hard drive, on X, and not on our Instagram and not on our Facebook.
Yep.
And that algorithm is shifting the type of comedy that we can make. And I don't think that's very healthy. And so I have a lot of criticisms of Elon Musk. This podcast could go on for a long time, but he lets us tell jokes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a legit thing.
Comedy's legal now.
That's a legit thing that he does. So he does a lot of other bad things, but I'm not going to take it away from him. That's a legit thing that he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a byproduct from the audience that he's bringing into that platform, is that you can also continue to tell these kinds of jokes, ragging on that kind of an audience without.
See, so Zuckerberg, it's not about the trajectory of where your joke is. It's about keywords. And that's really the thing. So you can't really criticize Republican senators on Facebook.
Sure.
You really can't.
It's similar to like where the TikTokers were using unalive instead of,
That's exactly what it's like. And a lot of people listening to this podcast probably know when you look on Instagram nowadays, you'll see a lot of Instagrammers will like blur out the word fuck, even if it's in an image. Right. The stuff is like pretty pervasive on Facebook and Instagram. So although Facebook and Instagram are the only reason why I'm not a journalist, because they gave us so much organic reach, they're also a real big thorn in our side. As far as Elon changing the headlines, we got off kind of lucky on that one. I was really worried about it, but all of our captions were just the headlines anyways. So we were less affected than other people. I was really worried about it. I didn't see any notable reduction. I do see people leaving the platform, particularly when it was like announced. Nowadays, it seems like people have already left or they haven't left.
Right.
I do think hard drive is like the 40th or 50th most popular Blue Sky account. So we were able to connect with those people on another platform. The thing I would say outside of just the publications is the actual just experience of being on X fucking sucks nowadays.
Yeah.
It's so weird. The replies are all nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
that is putting it mildly, my friend.
It kills me. I think it makes a lot of sense. The pussy is in the bio. I don't know what's hard to understand.
In the bio.
Pussy in the bio is like the least of my concerns. My concern is I see like an interesting article or something like that, and I want to see what other people think about it. So I click to read the replies, and it's just like this line made friends with a dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Good fucking luck.
Trying to get their growth.
And just video after video after video. It's incentivized all this weird behavior.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm not a huge fan of what's happened over there, but it has had some positive byproducts for us.
I'll be right back. I gotta go tuck my kid into bed.
Yeah, that sounds good. You were talking about it earlier, and I want to be respectful of your time, Matt. I know we're getting near an hour here. It's like we've been doing this for years now, and we all have 9-to-5s, and this is like a passion thing, and honestly, just a great excuse to hang out with friends as adults. Yeah. But I've noticed little trends in even our content and like things like discoverability. And when you were talking about your belief on like freelance approach and what that is, it seems like the internet has been in less favors of people trying to be a part of it in the last several years. And there's so much saturation and algorithm bullshit. Do you think that you would be in the spot you are now if you were starting today based off of how the internet is? Or do you have any advice on what to fucking
Dude,
do for folks
listen,
listening?
Listen to me. 0% chance.
Yeah.
I am not a special individual.
Yeah.
0% chance is what I would have if I started off today.
Yeah.
And when people ask me about what they should do when they're starting off, I'll tell them what I've come up against. I'll tell them what worked for me. And I think I have learned a lot about content, but do not start a satire website. Don't do it. Unless you figured out some form of organic reach that I don't know about. And so what I would tell people is you always have to. Now this actually, here's another thing is the advice I'm about to give fucking sucks for creativity, but I'm going to give it anyways. You have to find a big wave and you have to ride that wave. And that wave is determined by the people who own all the distribution, meaning the social media companies. What the social media companies do is they have particular features that they like to promote at particular times. You'll hear sometimes it's reels, sometimes it's video, sometimes it's short form video, sometimes it's long form video right now on YouTube. Sometimes it's still images. It's usually definitely not a link out to a different website. That's for sure. You have to find out where they're pushing stuff, and you have to fit that mold if you're trying to go from 0 to 1 without any money, which is what we did. We started a website, we put out content, and a world-class huge distribution system put our shit in people's feeds nonstop. And that was at the time, Zuckerberg and co. They thought for whatever reason, Facebook pages and with articles on them were okay. And they thought, I think they thought a lot about they measured the engagement rate. And if something was engaging, they let it roll, which is how like Farmville took off and Upworthy took off.
Yeah.
But they made a decision, and right around the time journalists started talking a lot about fake news, that there was going to be a pivot to friends and family. And when that pivot to friends and family happened, our Facebook engagement didn't drop 1%, 5%, 10, 99%. Those million reached, we would have 400,000 people who like us now, but it would reach 10,000, 20,000. So what ended up happening is we had to put out more content. We had to do more repost. And then we tried a lot of things. We actually we fell for the fake numbers that Facebook put up with video. We put out a lot of video, including my friend Ryan, who did a terrific job. And Ryan and I would celebrate when our videos would come out because we would get 5 million views, 10 million views. What did we figure out later? A lot of those views were they're inaccurate. Facebook was juicing them. They had to admit to that later, and they were trying to lure people onto the platform.
I mean, wasn't it if it was like on the center of the screen for a second or something?
It was like even if it loaded in the bottom of their feed. But we were crushing it on views.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, 10 million views, 15 million views. We're like, we're kings. And I remember at the time thinking, we're not going to create a YouTube channel. We're going to wait. I talked to someone at Facebook. We're going to wait for them to roll out their Facebook video advertising solution, and we're going to fucking be rolling in it. We're going to be Facebook only. And I think a lot of people fell for that. So starting out today, content creator, ride a big wave, have very unique and differentiated content, and continue to experiment and run experiments and track the results and adjust as needed. So don't do the same thing 200 times. If you're only looking for results, if it's not working, it's not going to work on the 201st time.
Yeah.
Try something else. If your video was 30 seconds and it didn't work, try one that's 15. If it had a link and it didn't work, try one without a link. If it was a video and it didn't work, try a picture. Try until you're that girl dancing on top of a Lamborghini, and boy, does it work.
It works. It fucking works.
It is amazing. Like to your point, you can't just follow what somebody else did because they already did it and it's already changed at that point. You can't ride that same wave. You can't just do the same formula.
I do think differentiation is usually key. And when we started Hard Times, there was not a satire outlet for that demographic. When we started Hard Drive, there was not a satire outlet for that demographic.
Yeah.
So we were offering something that it was a hole. It was a hole in the marketplace. It's not the most lucrative marketplace in the world, but it was a hole.
Yeah.
So you got to find that little niche, and then plant your flag. I would also say one of the main things is don't do too many things. Do one thing really well until that takes off, then expand, right? I didn't start all of the sites at once. I started the Hard Times, and then I told the story. I took 5 more shots and one other one worked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I would also say, reach out to me. I'm always welcome to talk if you have an idea.
Yeah, I know that we didn't get to touch on it too much, but one of the things I was really impressed with outside of you making Johnny who he is right now is you've got a strong commitment to what I perceive to be like underdogs. And like when I got out of college and I thought I could take on the world, I was a designer, went to school for graphic design, came out in the recession. I was then realized that you were left on your own to figure it the fuck out, and oftentimes that was scary and hard to do. And to see that there's like you even just putting together a resource within Study Hall to like help people find work, I think is really reassuring, because it's easy. Like I stopped doing design work for a while because it wasn't a feasible thing, and my passion became this thing I forgot about. And when you were talking about like giving up earlier, I was like, damn, I was fucking doing it. I gave up on it. But if there would have been more opportunities from like discoverability or just even belief that you could do something, like give me a chance, I think that really goes far. So good on you for that. That's something I think is really kick-ass.
Thanks. I think 2 of the most important things to defend in life are your energy and your spirit. And I've been at points in my life where those things feel under attack and they feel pressured.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you just can keep going forward. No one's going to help you. No one's going to make you go forward. You got to decide to go forward.
Yep.
So Study Hall, by the way, I didn't build Study Hall. I bought Study Hall, but I bought it from people who were very interesting, who built a very interesting community, and it lists out a bunch of opportunities for freelancers. Because as you could tell earlier in my story, this was like this traumatic event in my life where I couldn't find opportunities. So I was very interested by the idea. I thought Study Hall would have saved my fucking life if I had it back then. So
totally,
I wanted to make it a part of a different business we have called Outvoice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really I do want to give you an opportunity to plug yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
100%.
I know that Hard Times just relatively recently, started a Patreon. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? What's on the Patreon? Why people should join? What they're getting out of it?
Yeah, so it's a shared Patreon between Hard Times and Hard Drive. And the long and short of it is that our community saved us.
Yeah,
that's what our Patreon is. That story I told about us making more money than my journalist salary. I think I got paid $55,000 a year. So we're always talking about small business here, right? But Hard Times and Hard Drive have come up against some very strong structural blocks. We're banned from places like Google News. We have reach severely reduced in several places. Facebook owes us like $13,000. That's a different story.
Jeez.
Yeah, they put us in this bonus program, and they won't pay us, even though the dashboard says that it doesn't matter.
Have you asked Mark to fight you
Yeah.
in the Coliseum?
Dude, I mean, he'd whoop my ass. We sold Hard Times, and then unfortunately the business that bought us failed to pay the rest of the contract out. And running a comedy site's not easy.
Yeah.
And so we got to a point, we tried a lot of things. We have a pretty cool store that's got a lot of limited edition records in it, including some that are only Hard Times exclusive. We have some limited edition video game vinyl, like Battletoad vinyl. We got a Cuphead vinyl. We have some actually one video game, What the Golf, I think. We have a lot of game shirts, all sorts of stuff. So we tried this whole e-commerce thing. We tried an affiliate thing, we tried more articles, different types of articles, non-satirical articles. And it's just the sort of thing where you're just always going to be headed into a downward spiral unless you have community support. So we actually launched our first Patreon in 2019, a long time ago. And we tried really, because we kind of felt that coming.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried really hard, but unfortunately no one signed up. Very few people signed up.
Yeah.
And this time we were very transparent with people, and we said, check it out. We might be kind of done. We're pretty close to done, or at least we're gonna have to pivot to a whole new version of ourselves where might be just like a little infrequent or whatever. Like we can't cover the bills. Behind the scenes, I had another job. I have another business that pays me, and then I had a consulting job as well. And so I basically had a third job that I used to float the company. And I lost that consulting job. No big deal. Consulting jobs come and go. I was lucky to have it. But I think I put essentially all of my money into the business as it lost money. I counted it recently. It was about $102,000. But that was all of my money. Savings account on zero, credit card kind of high. Whatever, life goes on. You make decisions, you live with them, right? I wanted to do this thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Life is more fun if you're doing comedy, right? So I wanted to do this thing. So I was floating people's salaries and shit like that and just saying, we'll figure it out. We'll pivot. Now it's getting to the very end. And the end was, there's no more money and I don't have any money left to give out. So it was like, we already hit the point where we had no money. And so we kind of went to the audience. We said, hey, can you bail us out?
Yep.
Can you help us? Can you help us survive? And we were blown away.
That's awesome.
A ton of people chipped in. A ton. And even beyond that, we had members of bands that we've looked up to our whole life just PayPal us $1,000.
Hell yeah.
People just chipped in. And I think Hard Times had something like $45,000 to $50,000 worth of debt when we announced that, and no money. And I think we only have like $12,000, $10,000 worth of debt. So like our community saved us. They dug us out of the hole, and we live to tell another joke.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, hey, the money's nice, I'm sure, but just the idea that you had an audience that was willing to go to bat for you in that way.
It's incredible.
To go to those lengths.
So I'll say something too. I didn't think that they would. I don't know what that says about me.
Well, I mean, it's from doing it once and it failing, I assume informed a lot of your opinion on that.
But then
right?
also we would launch T-shirts,
and
sometimes we would sell 2 of them.
Yeah.
I think there's a T-shirt design that we put out. I think we sold 0. And
it's an interesting audience. Like
these lousy punks that can't afford these T-shirts.
Not crusty
it's an
enough.
Audience that is there for a joke. I mean, I can tell you how I've used hard drive in the past, which is I scroll through my own Twitter feed, I see the headline, I laugh at the headline, I might send it to a friend, but then I just keep scrolling, and I generally don't click through to the website. I don't see the shirts that are available. I don't see that the Patreon's there, and I can imagine that's probably the case for a ton of people as well. So
millions of people,
and so you've got all these surface level people, and I'm sure it's really scary to think we're going to start a Patreon. Is anybody going to join it? Because are all these people only here for this very surface level reason? And to see that no, actually, there's a lot of people who really, really care.
And let me say a mistake that I made. I don't think I paid attention to the changing winds of the average reader and supporter and enjoyer of content. Because when we launched in 2018, not every website was going under.
Yeah.
And there were not a lot of Defector wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
Second Wind wasn't a thing yet. These gaming properties. And I think that the audience changed, and I didn't recognize that they had changed. They had learned a bunch of stuff. They had learned that sometimes when you don't support your favorite creators, they go away. And I think I had just enough data to hurt myself and make the wrong decision, because I had all this out-of-date old data that said, we told them we needed to sell T-shirts or we would die, and they bought 2.
Yeah.
There was even a time way back when, 2020, something like that, Hard Drive tweeted, if we started a Patreon, would you support it? And we got a lot of no. They said no. They said no. Go tell a joke. A lot of people just see us as just memes. They don't even know that it's a website, and they don't think that making a meme is very hard.
I mean, Johnny makes it look natural, but I mean, he also has a 10-year-old son that probably writes most of his shit.
11 years old now.
Sorry.
And
Logan.
this is
Jude
not
writes all my material, by the way.
our struggles are not unique. I know that Clickhole and The Onion and Reductress, I know that they struggle as well. So yeah, I think our Patreon, I think, made us one of the most successful written comedy Patreons
awesome.
ever. At least that I know of. Which is
That's
I
great.
would never have believed that. So if anyone we flipped the script a little bit here. We're giving away a bunch of games, records, and T-shirts to our patrons. We're gonna do a new thing where we give away. We're gonna review a game. I'm gonna spoil a little bit. We're gonna review an indie game every week, and then we're gonna give away a bunch of copies of that game and play with our patrons.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're kind of flipping the script now, where we're actually gonna do a lot of just like patron appreciation stuff. And as long as they like us, and as long as they want to keep supporting us, then
That's really cool.
we'll keep on humming along.
That's awesome. You want to plug any of the spots that people can go and support you directly with that? Like, what's is it just through your website to get there, or Patreon, or what's the best way to get?
I think it's actually still patreon.com/thehardtimes. It's a shared one between the two, but it was because we launched it that way way back when. So it's actually still the same Patreon. But I would say if you don't, I know times are tight. So if you don't have money, feel free to just read the headline. Enough people have stepped up that our monthly budget is, I'm not going to lose my house anymore. I was about to.
Well, that's good.
That's a plus.
We'll make sure to link out to all that in our show notes as well. Matt, it's been an absolute joy having you on here. Thanks for making the time to hang out with us and talk about games and the little history there. That I learned a lot, and I hope our listeners did as well.
Yeah, I know we have like 1,000 more questions that we.
Yeah.
We even have a document that you haven't seen that has a lot of questions.
It's a lot.
I'll send them to you in an email.
Maybe
get back to us
we
when you
can
have a
get you
chance.
back on sometime and get into more of the nitty gritty. Like, I want to know like what goes into the editing of a headline, and knowing that the headlines are so important for something like that. And
it's a really interesting crowdsourcing thing. I want to end with one story if we're getting out of here.
Please.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's coming up with who's getting a lot of attention right now in the video game community. Mark Kern, Twitter handle @Grums. He's become this patron saint for the anti-woke crowd, right? And he's got a Twitter account where he sounds like he's recast himself as this hero that's going to make sure that you never have to see anyone in a wheelchair in any of your video games ever again, right? His background, you guys probably know this. His background is he was involved with like Diablo 2 and StarCraft and World of Warcraft and all these games that like shaped a huge part of my life. These are like the games that I was playing that like I have thousands of hours in these games, right? So probably like 4 or 5 years ago, he tweeted that he enjoyed Hard Drive. And I tweeted back personally. And I said something like Mark, because I read his bio. I know anything about him. I read his bio. It said like World of Warcraft, StarCraft, whatever. I was like, Mark, I played all these games as a kid. It means so much to me that you enjoy the website. Thanks so much. I tweeted back something like that. All of my Twitter mentions started filling up. Oh, shit. Oh, boy. Matt doesn't know. Whoops. No. Here we go. And I was like, what? How is this interaction negative, right? And then I clicked on his bio and read his feed for the first time. And it was back then. He was on this crusade back then. Maybe not the same exact topic, but it was kind of like the same time Notch was really playing on Twitter. And so, anyways, I've known about Mark Kern for a little while because of that interaction. I thought was really funny. But I wish him well on his journey to purify. Warhammer 40K is the one that he's on right now, which is a game I played a lot as a kid.
Oh
my Catachan army, I'm sure, was very woke.
Oh my god!
It's incredible how Gamergate 2 has been such.
It doesn't even deserve to be called that.
I know it's kind of a flop. It's kind of a
floppy thing than it was before. God. Oh,
you guys should invite him on the podcast.
I would love to. I have a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, lots
None
of
which
things.
I think he would want to answer.
Why are you such an idiot?
I know that we had you on.
Have you ever touched a girl?
Plenty.
I do think there's something inherently funny. I haven't been able to figure out a way to put it in a headline, but there's something inherently funny about having an entire Twitter feed. And I'm not saying that this is the Mark Kern. I don't know much about his personal life, but there's something funny about having an entire Twitter feed dedicated to critiquing, admiring, or curating 3D models of women that all represent people that you wouldn't talk to in real life.
Oh God.
There's
Oh,
something funny
God.
about
Yeah.
like this butt is too flat, and it's like, have you ever had a conversation, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Johnny,
mean?
get working on that. That's gonna be the next.
I've been trying to think of I've pitched several Grums headlines that have not.
That is really the problem. And again, this is something I'd love to ask you on a second interview. But like Grand Theft Auto has talked, or Rockstar has talked about, like how do we make parodies when the world is already such a fucking parody? How can we?
We find a way. We make it happen.
Yeah.
You need to work for Rockstar, is what I'm hearing.
Let's go.
We had you on to shoot some robots the other night. We had a blast doing that. So you're welcome anytime you want to stop by and hang out with us. Again, Johnny's been just on cloud 9 since he's been able to do some stuff with hard drive, and we appreciate sharing the time with him here on our show and what he's doing there. It's really, really cool. We do a lot of stuff here. We do video games, quick looks. If you are watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe there, as they say. We put up some longer content previews of games to help you decide if it's worth your time. And then Mondays and Fridays, we get together, either Johnny and I or Chase and I or a group of us, play games, trying to show you something cool that we're enjoying. And on Wednesdays, we tell you about the games in our podcast that you can find everywhere podcasts are published on Friday mornings. That's our stick there. Matt, you pitched the Patreon on your website. Anything else you would like to throw out there while we're wrapping up here?
I'm at the stage in my life where I'm just happy to make new friends who are want to play video games. So thank you for having me on to play video games. And if anyone listening to this wants to play some Helldivers, hit me up.
Hell yeah. Chase, you've been a busy bee. What do you got going on?
Yeah, on my YouTube channel, Chase K Plays, I'm playing through Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That's been a lot of fun. And then also I have a television podcast with my good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane. It's called Pilot Program. We watched the first episode of every television show ever made. We're about 17 episodes in, so we've got a ways to go. But this next episode, we're watching the Vice version of Desus and Mero from 2016. And,
awesome.
And that'll be good. I rewatched it again earlier today. I'm like, man, 2016 was a weird time. That was a very different time from right now.
Yes. Pilot Program is very cool. You should check that out. And Johnny, we've been talking about your contributions to hard drive. Anything that you want to plug there that you've got going out, or any interviews that you want to talk about?
I have an article going up tomorrow about Dr. Mario. I'm pretty excited about that one. I interviewed Alana Pierce this week. I'm talking to Danny O'Dwyer tomorrow. I have too many interviews left to edit. So we'll see when those go up.
Well, I know a guy who edits.
It is a process.
Yes. This has been episode 371. It's April 17th. We talked about a lot of video games and even more about hard drive. We are the Casual Hour. Matt, thank you so much for stopping by. It's